Sup, bitches?
You're watching Fugitive Red Eye, and welcome to another anime review. Been a minute since I've done one of those, I think, so here we go. So today I'll be reviewing the Dragon Ball Super movie, Dragon Ball Super: Superhero. Now this is one I originally wasn't going to watch, because as you guys know, I don't pay Funimation, I never buy anything that they do unless I can get it used. That and I think Dragon Ball has gone on for long enough, and there's too much shit being made of it, and I'm not a big fan of Super, but I have liked most of the Super movies. In fact, I've liked all the Super movies to some degree. And I count Battle of Gods and Resurrection F as super movies. I think as far as the movies go, Resurrection F is the worst. It's still good, but it's like my least favorite. I really don't like it all that much, but it's got its moments. Whereas I really like Battle of Gods, and I really, really like Dragon Ball Super Broly. So when Spencer told me he watched this, he said it was the best Dragon Ball Super movie. I'm like, really? Better than Broly? And he said, yeah, slightly better than Broly. And you know what? I'd have to agree. We'll get into it. So, as I said, I didn't originally intend to watch this, but Spencer had rented it on YouTube and wanted to show it to me after he had watched it. So, the last time I hung out with Spencer, we watched it. And I initially was being my normal bitchy self, being like, oh, I don't know, I hate Super, I don't want to watch it, being a bitch like I do. I like to complain a lot until I actually do something. Like, if you remember my early Fallout 3 streams, I bitched a lot in those. Another thing worth mentioning is that this uses a 3D animation style that sort of like blends the 3D with 2D. It's really not that noticeable. In fact, it just looks normal as you're watching it. At first I was a little skeptical, but it turned out really well. Anyway, we got going. He told me it's more like Dragon Ball than Z, and we watched it. And at first I'm like, well, is it an adventure? And he said no. And then I said, well, then how? And he's like, just watch it and find out. And then we watched it, and guess what? It's a lot like Dragon Ball. In fact, the main villains are the fucking Red Ribbon Army. There will be spoilers from this point on, so do be warned. So Dragon Ball Super, Superhero, when I first heard the title, I thought was going to be about the Great Saiyaman, because, superhero. And though it's not about the Great Saiyaman, Gohan is in fact the main focus. And they actually do take the time to explain why Goku and Vegeta are not a major part in this movie. They're still in it. In fact, you get to see a lot of nice training between them, and at the end of the movie, in the post-credits scene, Vegeta actually beats Goku for the first time literally ever in a training match. I thought that was pretty fucking great, because as you guys know, Vegeta is my favorite mainstay character. He's my second favorite character overall, my favorite being Bardock. Another cool thing about this movie is it has Pan in it actually being capable. Like, she's still, her 4-year-old self, or however old, she's a toddler, anyway. Like she is at the end of Z. And she's pretty major to the plot of it. The tone can be fairly lighthearted at times, and it can be pretty serious in a couple of times as well. Having the Red Ribbon Army as the main focus does definitely bring back a lot of nostalgia for the original Dragon Ball. It makes up a couple of new characters. General Red's son is a major character. His name's Magenta. And then Dr. Gero's son is also introduced. His name is Dr. Hebdo. Again, they both had sons, apparently. Dr. Gero did actually have another son. Actually, just his grandson. Dr. Hebdo's his grandson. And they do actually confirm that 16 was based on Dr. Gero's son, which, Toriyama said in an interview, but with how much Toriyama contradicts himself, it's nice to actually see it confirmed in a series. Or in the series, rather. I'm probably going to be fairly loose with the editing on this review, just so you guys know, just so I can get it out, because I've been fucking lazy and I want to get a review out, because it's been long enough. The first act of the movie mostly focuses on the villains, and I love it. I love that they did that. They take a lot of time with the villains, and Dr. Hebdo isn't really a villain. In fact, he wants to be a superhero, but he figures it's beneficial to work with the Red Ribbon Army, and he's convinced that Goku and his group are actually villains. There's a lot of good new characters in this. I like Dr. Hebdo. I do like his two inventions, being Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. They're the new androids that he has going and being superheroes for him, and also being the villains for most of the movie. Later on, they realize that they're actually on the bad side and switch sides to help Gohan and Piccolo defeat the evil Red Ribbon Army. Interestingly, Piccolo gets a new form in this, and for a lot of the movie is actually the strongest character. His new form is literally just called Orange Piccolo, which I think is a little lame, but whatever. Then Gohan gets a new form at the end of it, where he gets white hair, so Gohan Blanco is officially canon, so shout out to the Spanish lore for that. And it's his strongest form, so again, perfect. Another thing this movie does is it does tease Gotenks, like a lot of other things have done. Super and GT both don't like to show adult Gotenks for some reason. However, though we don't fully get Gotenks, at least not regular Gotenks, we get fat Gotenks because he fails at the fusion, so we do kind of get Gotenks. The Red Ribbon Army is also working on a new version of Cell called Cell Max, which they build up for most of the movie, but then he appears in the third act for the final battle, and that's it. In all honesty, the only downside to this movie is I think they really underutilized Cell Max. He's only in one battle and has no speaking lines, he just kind of screams and is angry. He's also just, like, semi-perfect Cell, but, like, with red on him now, basically, in his design. It's still really cool, because Cell is my favorite of the main series villains. But I do like that this movie has a lot with Piccolo. It has some good development for Gohan. It shows Gohan that he needs to train more and not give up on it, because Gohan's been lazy and, like, just kind of doing his thing and researching and stuff. To the detriment of his family, too. Both Videl and Gohan have kind of been just pushing Pan off on Piccolo. And this sort of has an arc where he realizes he needs to be more involved, both in Pan's life and in training. Piccolo allows Pan to get kidnapped by the Red Ribbon Army. In fact, he kidnaps Pan for them while he's in disguise. Obviously, Pan was never in any real danger because she's stronger than the average child. But Piccolo tells her to pretend that she's scared and stuff to motivate Gohan into actually unleashing his full potential. You also get to see Korin and Yajirobe in it, which I think was a nice touch, and Korin actually refers to Piccolo as Kami at one point, because, you know, Piccolo is in fact fused with Kami. And this movie actually remembers the fact that Shenron can now do 2 wishes instead of just 1, so I thought that was pretty cool too. Actually, I think he could do 3 wishes in this movie. I can't remember for certain, but the point is, he can do multiple wishes again. Which is good, because it kind of felt like they sort of forgot that when they did Battle of Gods. But Shenron unleashes Piccolo's full potential, which gives us Orange Piccolo. He also unleashes, well, Gohan's full potential is unleashed through the battle. It's not through Shenron. But again, it's pretty cool that Gohan Blanco's canon now. We get to see a little bit of hijinks with Beerus and Chile, and Broly's in it too. Like, we get to see them on the world of Beerus doing their training. Obviously, Broly is not voiced by Vic Mignogna in this, because, you know, Funimation sucks. But the point is, good movie. I really liked this movie. It's easily my favorite of the Dragon Ball Super movies. And I might be getting it when it's used. Again, I will never give Funimation a cent of my own money. Hence why I never buy Crunchyroll or anything like that. There are people in my household who have Crunchyroll subscriptions, and I'll make fun of them for that, because they also don't like Funimation, which Funimation and Crunchyroll are the same company now, if you don't know. In fact, it's interesting. They actually released this under Crunchyroll. They never even say that it's Funimation, because I guess Crunchyroll is just the brand they roll with now, because it's more respected. Monica Rial's performance of Bulma in this, I felt like was even worse than usual. She sounded much more raspy. It's probably because she's getting older. I've never liked Monica Rial's Bulma. I've always thought she sounded terrible, even before I realized she was an awful person, so she's even worse now, so it's a lot more grating. Speaking of Bulma, we actually do get to see that Bulma's been abusing the Dragon Balls to make herself look younger, which I think they kind of hinted at Battle of Gods. In fact, I think they outright said it in Battle of Gods, but they do it more in this. So yeah, it has the characters I actually like from Super, being Beerus and Whis being in it, and it has the characters from Broly appear in it, so overall, it's all the things that are good with Super, and it harkens back to the original Dragon Ball. So this, easily a really good Dragon Ball movie. Again, I'm a little disappointed in how underutilized Cell Max was. I remember I made the joke that, oh, it's like Pepsi Max, but Cell. Which, you know, side note, you know you can't get Pepsi Max in the US anymore? It's only in, like, Europe now. They call it Pepsi Zero Sugar in the US now. It's fucking gay. But anyway, that's a tangent. Overall, I highly recommend this movie, but I don't recommend paying Funimation to see it. But overall, good movie. I much enjoyed my time with it. And I'm glad to see good Dragon Ball content can still be made. Obviously, with Dragon Ball Super Broly, I already knew it could, because Dragon Ball Super Broly is also really good. But Dragon Ball Super itself is a very mixed bag, and I hate more of it than I like. As you guys know, my favorite Dragon Ball is Dragon Ball, followed by GT and then Z. I know, hot takes, whatever. We've been over this. But yeah, really like this movie. Definitely the best Super movie so far. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this little review. This has been Fugitive Red Eye. Have a good one. Toodles!
What am I watching? I don't know, but I hate it.
I'm gonna fucking die here, Jack!